Tim, I'm going to start with you. Your daughter, Carolyn, she was 16 when she was diagnosed with cancer.
That's correct.
What kind of cancer, just briefly, but how was this diagnosis brought to her and to you and Angela at the time? How was the communication, and what worked, what didn't?
Well, it started out, she had a little bit of a pain in her side, and we thought it was from lacrosse the night before. She was complaining her ribs had hurt. So we went to the doctor, to the children's hospital, and they did a scan. We were there 8 hours. I was getting worried. I thought something was up. I knew something just didn't seem right. So my wife was driving home, and we got the call. Doctor came in crying. My wife had showed up by that time because I said, you better come here. Something just doesn't feel right.
Who was crying?
The doctor, when she came into the office, which surprised, usually they're rocks, but she had seen the scan, and, you know, she'd been with me and my daughter going out through the day talking about what she was looking for, and never mentioned cancer at all. We thought possibly appendix or something. And when she came in crying and my wife was there, she said, I don't even know how to tell you guys this, but your daughter has cancer. There's a tumor that's 16 centimeters, and both of us hit the floor. We had no idea.
Sorry, Tim, 16 centimeters in inches is roughly how long?
Yeah, it's about 6 inches probably. So the size of a softball.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would say the size of a softball. And, you know, right away, my first thing was, well, how do you know it's cancer? I mean, people can have tumors. And she said, well, just by the sheer size of it, you know, there's, when we see something that large in there, generally it's cancer. So.
Was it just you and Angela, your wife, in the room?
Yeah, and my daughter too. Okay. She was there.
And Carolyn?
Yeah, and Carolyn started crying, and, you know, her grandmother had passed of cancer, and she just lost it. She said, Dad, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. And, you know, as a father, you just feel like you're drowning and you can't swim. And I told her, don't worry, you know, I mean, cancer, there's lots of ways to fight it, and we're gonna fight it, you know? So, yeah, it was tough.
And Pete, the diagnosis for you, it was liver cancer. Share the same story with me if you could. How were you told?
It's interesting. I had some routine blood work done. Nothing out of the ordinary. I wasn't feeling sick at all. And met with the doctor, and she said, you know, your white blood cell count's a little high. It's probably nothing, but maybe we should get that checked out. Well, nothing turned out to be cancer, specifically cholangiocarcinoma, for folks who know about that stuff. It's a particularly nasty cancer. I think the survival rate 5 years is under 10%. And of course, I read all this and I panicked because they tell you...
Is that what they leave it for you to read up on Dr. Google, or do they tell you at the time?
Basically, they tell you what you need to know and where you need to be, but in terms of extensive research, no, you're pretty much on your own. They put me in touch eventually with the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation, and that helped because they sent me a whack of information, and that sort of gave me an idea of what to expect and maybe possible treatment options. And yeah, I mean, the communication throughout the process has been very hit and miss, I have to say. Depending on who the doctor is and whether or not they know me or have 8 other patients to see that hour, you know, they may be very brief, they may be very brusque. Some have not great bedside manner. Definitely. One guy told me in 2021 that I should expect to be dead within 12 to 18 months.
He told you just like that, those words?
Flat out. And then we had our football banquet for the high school team I coach that night. And so I had to go there after getting that bombshell and try to act normal. It was rough. But this guy was just filling in for my regular oncologist. When my regular guy came back and I told him what the other doctor said, he's like, he can't say that. We have no way of knowing that. And I said, yeah, well, scared the hell out of me, bud.
And Tim, you were nodding throughout that. So same feeling that Dr. Google was communicating with you instead of your doctor?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They told us not to look. They said, don't look. It'll just scare you. You know, you trust in what we're doing. We have this covered, but unfortunately, they didn't know. It's a rare type of cancer, adrenal cortical carcinoma. There's only been 1 or 2 patients at the Children's Hospital that have ever had it. And the survival rate is so low. It's just crazy, right? And, what they told us was that they were going to give it chemo, shrink it, hopefully remove it. Well, after we went to the United States, they said no, they would have removed it, then given chemo after to kill any of the traces. But we didn't get that option. So they didn't know what they were doing. I wish I would have never allowed them to do what they've done. They made our oncologist disappear. And I tried to find him for the last 2 years, and he's gone.
So I know, Tim, in your case, was it a GoFundMe page that you had, like family and community support?
Oh, thank God for that. Yeah, I had such amazing people. I can't even thank the people enough. People came forward. We raised $250,000, and that helped us go to the States. We still had to spend another $250,000 of our own money, but
right.
I'll tell you, there's
in the U.S. it was the Mayo Clinic, right?
Yeah, and best treatment I couldn't even tell you how incredible the American system is compared to ours.
From a communication perspective, what worked better at the Mayo Clinic in the U.S. that did not work in Canada? From a pure communications.
Oh, the wastage on bandages and doctors coming in. You always have, if you have to go to the washroom, they have 2 nurses assist you. Family can't. Where here, if I wasn't there, my daughter wouldn't have got to the bathroom half the time.
So there's more personal attention.
Absolutely. They don't beat around the bush. Like Pete was saying, they only give you enough information to, keep you going, but it's not the right information all the time.
Pete, anything similar for you? Did you start? Did your friends and family start a campaign? Have you thought about any U.S. treatment or anything like that?
Thought about. Haven't pursued that yet because treatment seems to be going okay as of late. I mean, the last.
Well, you had chemo today, and you're doing a podcast episode.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, you're tough, Pete.
Good thing we're not doing it tomorrow morning. I'd be a little more fatigued. But yeah, I just dove right into this thing. I'm like, all right, well, you tell me I've got a year to 18 months to live. Challenge accepted. I swore a little too, but not at the doctor. And I'm just like, screw this. I'm fighting. Let's go.
How long ago was it now?
It was 2021. So yeah, I beat his.
All right. So far they're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, they are wrong. They're not so far. They are wrong with that one.
And then I got the stage 4 diagnosis last spring, I guess it was. And in that case, the doctor said, there's no finite line that, your age and the stage of this is how long you're going to live. But he basically said, people in your stage of cancer generally might make it a year at the most. And I went, all right, another challenge to accept. Cool, let's go.
For you, Tim, Carolyn, I was at her celebration of life. How long afterward did Carolyn pursue? And then tell me when your wife Angela's diagnosis came.
Well, Carolyn, she passed away in 2000. She fought it for just over a year and a half.
What year? Sorry?
2000 she passed. Yeah. So, and
2020?
Yeah, 2020. Sorry. Yeah, she worked hard to fight as hard as she could, and finally, the tumors themselves had grown so large that they were actually just crushing her organs. It was a nightmare. To watch her go through that, but we got through it. We were just kind of on the mend. Life was getting good again, and Angela, we were out the coast at her place there, and she was paddleboarding, and last day we were there, we put the paddleboard away, and she said to me, "Oh, my leg is kind of weak." And I said, "Oh, well, that's weird." And she'd had a cough since April, but we had COVID, so we all assumed, well, it was COVID. But when we got home, I said, "You better go see the doctor about that leg." So she did right away, went, saw the doctor, and they did an x-ray. My doctor, he's a great guy. He sent her for all the tests. She got x-ray and ultrasounds, and got a phone call from the doctor that night, and both of us know those phone calls. If you have a scan and you get a phone call, you're generally in trouble. If you don't hear anything, it's good news. So we got a call, and my doctor, he's a friend, he said, "Can you come in?" I said, okay, yeah, sure. So we both went in, and I was assuming, maybe an infection or something, or I wasn't assuming that, melanoma was going to be Angela's cancer, right? So
Completely unrelated to Carolyn's.
yeah, completely unrelated. And Angela did have a small mole 20 years prior that they removed and said was melanoma, but they had clean margins, gotten rid of it. She had been doing all the tests and everything over the years, and everything was clear.
And was the communication better this time with Angela, or was it about the same?
Well, no, the first doctor, this it's a horrible story. I mean, my personal doctor, he was great. He said, hey, Ange, there's a 10-centimeter tumor in your lung. We don't know what it is. It could be something sinister. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but he said it might just be an infection. We don't know. We need an MRI. He said the problem with the MRI is it could take months to get it. And I turned to him and said, hey, can we go and pay for it? He said, absolutely, you can pay for it. So right away, he wrote a prescription we called Beam Radiology, who was fantastic. They booked us in the next day. So it was a Friday. We got the scan done. Monday morning, Angela, I didn't know, got up early, went to Beam Radiology, picked up the report, because if you pay for it, you can see the report before the doctors get it. So Angela ran there, got the report, because you're paying for it, so it comes to you. I was still sleeping, and I woke up to her crying, grabbing my arm and saying, honey, it's everywhere. And I was just in shock. Like, what do you mean it's everywhere? Well, my lungs, my brain, my hip, my leg, no wonder my leg is weak, my adrenal glands, my kidneys, just everywhere. Like, I could tell you the spots it wasn't, So, yeah, and then we don't see an oncologist or anything. We have nobody. We now know this, and we have nobody. So who do you go to? We're waiting now for this report to go back to our doctor, and our doctor to tell somebody at the cancer center to look at it, which takes 3-4 weeks in itself. And with us being kind of semi-cancer experts from being through it with our daughter and seeing hundreds of scans, that this is urgent. And so anyhow, I had a friend who is a surgeon, wrote a letter to another specialist, a thoracic surgeon, who then called us in his office, even on his day off. This guy is like a hero to me. So we got in to see him, and he did a bronchoscopy, which tells you what type of cancer it is by going into the lung and removing a little piece of the cancer. And 2 days later, we found out it was melanoma, but we still haven't got a cancer doctor. But because...
And you don't know what stage here.
We have no idea. No idea.
Right.
We just now know it's melanoma. So he sent the samples to the oncology department, and luck would have it, Angela got a fever and an infection from having that test, which is like 5% of the people that have that test get an infection. She happened to get an infection. That pushed us into the hospital. Then while we were in emergency, we finally got to see an oncologist, where we would have waited 3 weeks. And who knows if we had that time. So, yeah, just terrible.
And to move Angela's story, was it last October that Angela passed?
She passed in October. Yeah, this all started a year and a half previous in September, August, when we found out that it was cancer.
I want to move to how family and friends have responded to you. When someone shares that they have a diagnosis of cancer, or, Tim, in your case, your daughter and your wife have passed from cancer, you had celebrations of life for each. How do people respond? I'm sure there are some people that do it really well. I'm sure there are some who don't know what to say, and they don't say anything, which I'm hoping to change that, quite frankly, with this episode, because I think there's always something to say. And then I'm sure there are others who do speak up, and it might be a little better if they spoke a little differently. Pete, I'll start with you. You have an amazing group of friends in Regina, because I see the posts on Facebook. How have people responded? What have they gotten right? And without embarrassing anybody, what if folks not necessarily gotten right? How would you like the communication to be?
I think, from my perspective anyway, the worst thing anyone could do is not say anything at all. I mean, I've told everyone I know, and I've been very upfront about it. I said, you know what? We don't have to talk about cancer. We can talk about football. We can talk about movies. We can talk about whatever you want. I'm still here, and I still have a life. And that seems to open a few minds and a few doors. But yeah, it's awkward, especially that initial conversation with someone, because they have no idea. They have no idea how you're feeling.
Sorry. They say thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
And is that helpful? Is our thoughts and prayers good?
I mean, it doesn't hurt.
No.
It is. Some days when I'm having a tough day or I'm hooked up to the chemo, and I think about all the people that are in my corner, I go, okay, well, giving up isn't an option. But even if it was, I couldn't, because of all these people that I would disappoint if I did that. So
let me pick up on that. Are there some people, Pete, where you can feel it? They genuinely feel it deep in their bones, how sad they are for this, that you're almost consoling them.
Yeah, actually. And
Absolutely.
And they do not know what to do. Like, people ask me, can we bring you food? I'm like, I can't guarantee I'll eat it, but yeah, of course you can. And I mean, I'm not going to say no to any kindness. There's a lady that, strangely enough, is my ex-mother-in-law, and she goes with me to every chemo treatment just because she's retired and she has the time and she doesn't think I should have to go through that alone.
What's her name?
Her name is Winona. Winona Young. And yeah, she's
classy.
She's a blessing.
Tim, folks not saying something, and I know, because you and I spoke earlier, sometimes they say stuff and it's not that it's wrong, it's just there might be a different approach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody has their opinion on how you should handle things, and, when your guts are ripped out, your heart's smashed, that's just not what you want to hear. You don't want to hear how you should handle it.
They're telling you how to handle it, how to fix it.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people have told me that. Oh, you need this. You need to just keep going. You need to. You're still alive, and they would want you to go forward. And well, of course, everybody would want you to go forward. But better to just give somebody love and hugs, and be their friend. You don't have to tell them how to create the next part of their life. And it's sometimes frustrating, and sometimes, you just understand that that's people. They've never been through it, and unless you have, you just don't know. You don't know.
Or I wonder if they've been through a shade of it.
Yeah.
Like someone they know who went through it, and they start telling you their story.
Exactly. When I'm talking about my daughter, and then, a good friend of mine, they have one child and I have two, and they're always telling me how great the experience. Oh, my son's going to university and college, and, everything is fantastic. And how is your son doing now that all this has happened? And I'll tell him, he's doing great. And, well, does he miss his sister? Well, of course he misses his sister, right? And of course he'd want to be there for her graduation. But just sometimes people can just overspeak or overstep the boundaries, right? And it makes it hard. I had friends just disappear, didn't know how to handle it. My daughter was sick and talked to the guy every day, most of growing up, and vanished. I was like, well, what's going on? I phoned him. He could hardly talk, and I got it after. I didn't get it at the time, but I got it after. That he just couldn't put up with it. He didn't know how to talk to me, and it hurt him. It hurt him so bad. And then after, his daughter got sick, and he called me right away and said, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I ghosted you. I couldn't talk to you. And now I know what you went through. And now it's just heartbreaking for me to hear that he was going through that, So.
Pete, what should I say to somebody? What are the words that I should use?
Well, how are you feeling? And if the person just gives you fine, then okay, accept that and move on to a different topic of conversation. If the person wants to, in this case, me, wants to give you some more detail, some more information, then be open to that. And recognize that everyone's journey is different. What happened for your uncle's sister's great aunt isn't necessarily what I'm going through. So if you want to suggest essential oils, or one woman actually, and I can't even make this up, private messaged me and said, my brother is a chiropractor who cures cancer. Check him out. I'm like, no, sorry. I know you think you're being helpful, but
Yeah.
That had all of that too. Yeah.
So what percentage of people, because that's a form of let me help you fix it.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of people respond with the let me help you fix it kind of approach?
mercifully, it's been a low percentage for me, thankfully. Like under 10% for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I had lots contact us telling us to try dandelions and, eat this, eat that, ivermectin to, and I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, we pretty much ate everything. We tried everything, right? Of course, we were going to try anything we could try, but yeah, and even the doctors, they don't know. Something that fixes somebody
Obviously.
might fix somebody else, might not. So like chemo, it's a shot in the dark. It's a roll the dice, and maybe it works for Pete, maybe it doesn't work for Pete, right? So
Yeah.
there's 10 different kinds. And
for each of you in the last couple of years, do you listen to music any differently? Do you find you watch TV shows differently? Do you do things differently? Do you talk to others differently? Pete, I'll start with you.
Yes. I don't know if it's the chemo, I don't know if it's the cancer or just life experience, but I get a lot more emotional when I listen to songs that have a deep emotional meaning, and even just the stupidest stuff like on TV. I'm a single parent of a young man who's 25, and if the show or the movie has anything to do with the father-son relationship, I'll find myself getting weepy, and it's just like, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm emotional, and I'll chalk it up to chemo, and that's just the way it has to be.
Like Field of Dreams at the end of the movie when he plays catch with his dad?
Can't do it.
Oh,
yeah, that's heartbreaking for all of us. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, can't watch that scene again.
I'd love to play catch with my daughter, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought of that. You're right, Tim. How about you? And does music strike you any differently? Poetry, TV shows, stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Music, especially. I found some music super healing, and some stuff just can tear you right down, like songs that were your favorite songs or your loved one's favorite songs. So yeah, it's tough, but I do find that, that is a little bit healing to listen to that stuff and enjoy thinking of the memories and thinking of that stuff. But it took me a while to get there for sure,
I had to give myself crap because I started picking out funeral songs.
Yeah.
And I just went, no, man, you're not there yet. Stop that.
How far down the path did you get before you decided that, though?
4 or 5 songs.
You've been, how long?
4 or 5 songs.
Yeah.
These are the songs that sort of speak to what's happened. And then I just went, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah. Okay, each of you, give me one song that you've changed your opinion about in the last few years that you think might be attributable to what you've experienced in the last couple of years. Tim, I'm going to start with you. A song that maybe you didn't pay attention to, or you disliked, or even that you liked a lot before and now you don't like. What song is that?
Well, I wasn't a huge fan of Benny and the Jets, but that was my daughter's favorite song. And like she was in a coma and my son played it for her. And when she woke up, that's one thing she heard. She heard that. So I think of it all the time. It's hard to listen to it. Yeah.
Pete, how about you?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is going back a ways. This is pretty obscure. Alphaville, Forever Young. When that song first came out, I thought, oh, this is cool. It's about living forever and yay. And then you listen to the lyrics and it's like, no, we fully expect the world to blow up in the next year or two. And we'll be forever young because we won't age. And it's like,
well, I kind of think that song is also saying, if you could, would you want to live forever? Like at some point, wouldn't you kind of want to, I've had enough.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
right?
who wants to outlive everyone they've ever known? Like, that does not appeal to me even a little.
Yeah.
There's a song I really like. I've been listening to it a lot lately, and it should make me sad, but it doesn't. It kind of makes me joyful, and it's Mark Stiebela. I don't know how to say his last name, and it's called More to This. And wow, it's a powerful song, and it's about dying, actually. So, but how you'd miss your loved ones, and what would you do? So, but I listen to that quite a lot.
Guys, I can't thank you both enough. I really appreciate this. I hope this episode highlights the importance of, for physicians in the diagnosis of cancer, the system overall, that communication is so important. There's the scientific diagnosis, and then there's the human communication, which is so critically important to everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.